Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Thursday, April 27th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, this is the way it's going to be, is it? Anyway, let's get in here and take a look. You guys have all heard about AI and what's happening out there with AI. And oh, by the way, you guys, I got a pretty good show for you guys this morning. There's kind of interesting stuff going on here. But anyway, let's talk about AI. ChatGPT, and they're coming out with ChatGPT 1, 2, 3. Now they're up to, I think, the 4th iteration. People are actually using this technology to accomplish the work. You know, all those people who left the office and went home, and now they're just working on computer. They're just tappity on the keyboard and on the mouse. And that's their whole job now. And they stay at home. I see this as a very potential because, see, it says how AI enables people to work second and third jobs. And we take a look at this. A new breed of overemployment workers has emerged, turning artificial intelligence, AI-powered language models like ChatGPT, to handle a significant portion of their job responsibilities. And they're talking in here and they're saying that this guy, I guess 80% of his job is now done by ChatGPT, but he's getting paid for that. So in other words, he's only doing 20% of his online computer work, and ChatGPT is doing the rest. And he's getting the pay. So ChatGPT is working for him. How much longer before they switch this around and they have ChatGPT, the next iteration, ChatGPT 4 is what they're on now. Maybe soon it'll be on ChatGPT 5 and it'll have more learning and capabilities, the computer, so that it can do 100% of the job. I can see a huge part of the workforce now that's left their regular office jobs and stuff. Now they work at home on the computer, and the computer taking over and being able to do the job that they're doing at home. And then we're not even talking about robots that are taking a lot of other people's jobs. This is moving too fast. So what it's going to leave is a huge chunk of the workforce with nothing to do. So, how does the government solve something like this? Because we're talking millions of people here that could be put out of a job because this is moving so lightning fast. I can't begin to tell you guys how fast this is moving. It's just something that's just come up. 2 years ago, we never heard about AI engines like ChatGPT and stuff, just a couple years ago. Now, all of a sudden, boom, here it is right in your face. Now, how much more powerful is it going to get very quickly and remove a lot of people from their jobs? And then what are they going to do? Well, what's the answer for all this? The way I see it, the answer is a central bank digital currency, and they're going to have to pay these people to stay home and do nothing. Because now they're tech people who were working in programming computers. Well, the computer can program itself now. Suddenly. It reminds me of something. Back when I was a younger guy, they used to have all these ads on. Now, this is back in the days of television. They used to have all these ads on there. Learn computers in your own home. Learn how to operate a computer. Now, this is going back like maybe 1990s or something, like a long way back. Learn computer in your own home. We'll send you the computer, and they would send them like an IBM computer and stuff to learn on. It was part of the package deal. It cost like $5,000. They'd get the computer, and they would get the training on, and that worked back then, because these people that would take those courses, they would move them into offices and stuff, and they would be the tech guy, The people who'd be in the office be like, oh, I can't get this computer to work today. It's driving me crazy. And they would be able to type MS-DOS and all this kind of stuff into the computer and go into the command prompt and all this because they learned computers and they had a good job back then. But then they were put out of work. You don't see the tech guy in the offices anymore. That's a thing of the past. That's a thing of the 90s. That's a thing of the early 2000s. That's a job that's went the way of the Goonie bird. Because computers now, I mean, it's a totally different world we're dealing with now. And we're dealing with ChatGPT, which is AI. Already it's here and it's growing in power tremendously. And plus all these robots and stuff. So all of a sudden a massive amount of people will be without work. And then what's the answer? Just send them money. Just send them, have an account with the Fed. Fed Now or whatever they want to call the new Fed coin. Just send them money and let them go out and buy that to buy their groceries and stuff. And they can just stay at home. Off the work. But what's going to happen to that currency when they do that? Now, you think about that for a minute. You just can't create something from nothing and expect people who produce something that's real to give it to you for a fake currency that is absolutely worthless. And support a whole group of people within society, say, I'm just going to guess, say 10, 20 million people, support them with a currency that's worthless, when they're buying real things like vegetables and food to support themselves and everything else, that currency will become worthless too. Okay, enough said about that. Okay, here, I'm not going to mention this name here, but it says here, needed to be silenced. Why? On this thing here, it says, so-and-so, I'm not going to mention his name, needed to be silenced because he represented too big a threat to the powers and principalities, institutions and agendas that seek to unenlighten. They seek an unenlightened, this is what they seek, this is what they're looking for. These powers that be, these powers and principalities, these institutions, and they have their agendas and everything. They seek an uninformed, semi-lobotomized, quasi-retarded population that does not question, and they do not do any research, they do not do any analysis, but simply digest and follow instructions. And believe me, when I tell you this, that there's a whole bunch of them out there that fit that category. They do not, quasi-retarded. What was the word they used to get? Let's just look at this for a second again. Lobotomized, quasi-retarded population that do not question, they do not do research, they do not analyze, but they simply digest and follow instructions. Boy, that describes people today to a T, you know. I mean, they're out there and they're not the people, you know. I mean, okay, so let's take a look at some other stories here. Poland versus the European Union. A survey shows that Poles, people that live in Poland, reject a cashless society and a ban on combustion engines and restrictions on meat sales. So they're not happy with what the EU is pushing. They don't want it, Poland. And this, I think represents a very small fraction of what's going on in Europe. This is just a little segment I'm showing you guys here to show you that Europe is going to fragment to a certain degree. I can see it coming ahead of time. There's going to be a fragmentation occur here. Big time. And I also see seeds for fragmentation in the Americas. Huge. This is so huge. I can't tell you guys how huge it is. Well, guess what? Biden and Yoon warned North Korea on nukes. They're warning. Oh, North Korea, they're pointing the finger. You better do what do we say? Well, the thing about it is they are unveiling a new plan on Wednesday to counter North Korea's nuclear threat, with U.S. leader issuing a blunt warning that such an attack would result in the end of whatever regime took the action. So what are they going to do? They're going to dock a U.S. nuclear-armed submarines in South Korea for the first time in decades. They're going to pull the nuclear-armed submarines in there to protect Korea. Well, you know the Korean War never ended. And I want to tell you something else. North Korea has been pumping those nuclear weapons out like they're chocolates coming out of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And they've been doing that for the last 3-4 years. And intelligence out there, I don't know if they've got an accurate handle on how many nukes North Korea actually has, and the delivery systems. And very, very high quality is what they're producing. Solid fuel propellant rockets. They're capable of going halfway around the Earth in 30 minutes and delivering a nuclear punch from North Korea. And so the best thing to do with a nation like North Korea, in my estimation, this is just my thoughts on it, the best thing to do is to leave them the hell alone, because they are like a honey badger. And the best thing to do, if you're in a pride of lions or something, and there's a honey badger over there, the best thing to do if you're a lion is to leave him alone, even though you're a lot bigger than him. Honey badgers, and a lion attacks them, they go for his most vulnerable part of the lion that's between his legs, and they chew it off. That's where they go. They go for the most vulnerable part of the lion. And oftentimes they can be very successful because they go for the most vulnerable part. Now North Korea is like that. They're like a honey badger. And America's like the lion. Yeah, a lot bigger. A lot stronger, but never forget, they've got nuclear weapons that can go for the most vulnerable part, which would be what's called strategic nuclear weapons. And you knock out a few cities, big cities, with strategic nuclear weapons, and the whole country goes dark. The power grid fails. That's what happens next. Say they get 10 hits. I don't know, you just guess 10 big cities, 10 of the biggest cities. Picture in your mind right now, think of 10 of the biggest cities in the West, and they're all flattened. Well, the rest of the power grid's going to go down because it's all interconnected. The power grid circuits through the cities, the big cities. If you fry that electricity in them big cities, the power grid just dead. The whole power grid, every inch of it, and including telecommunications. So you don't have to have a huge nuclear war. If you get hit in like 10 cities, you are just flat. Your ship has been sunk, basically. Because what happens next is the rest of the country has no telecommunications, they have no electricity, and say that goes on for a couple weeks and they don't know what happened. They just boom, ba, bing, it just goes out. The power goes out. But they might not see any nuclear activity because maybe they don't live in those 10 big cities. So the sky's blue, the sun is up, and the sky's clear, and everything seems normal, but they don't know what happened because their cell phone doesn't work, their power's out, and there's no news. And you can't spread news because that's the only way we spread news. We spread news nowadays electronically through our cell phones and through the power grid and through the internet. And if all that's down, you cannot tell people what just happened. So say time goes by. First day goes by after a nuclear attack like that, and nobody knows what happened. Everything seems to be perfectly normal. The sky is blue. Everything's normal, but quiet. Nobody knows what happened. Everybody's asking their neighbor, hey, what the hell has happened? Why isn't my power on? I can't get any news. I can't even on the FM radio, and their stations are all dead. AM's all dead. AM radio. Maybe the ham operators might be the only one, but they can't dispense news. They're not equipped for that. And nobody knows what happened. So time progresses. A day, 2 days, 3 days. After about 5 or 6 days, people start to panic. And after 2 weeks, they're more than in panic mode. They're going in survival mode. And they're, let's just put it this way. It would be called an SHTF or whatever. The SHTF, I think it is. Yeah. That's what it would be. And the country would be so disabled that it wouldn't be able to get its act together. And then you got these other players out there. So you got a country that's totally disabled by a much smaller country that's basically went for their most vulnerable spot. And then you got all these other countries out there who are wanting to do the same thing, but they didn't get in there first. And they're like a bunch of hyenas coming into the kill. You know what I mean? At that point, I mean, this is what could happen. I mean, I'm not relegating this to the scrap bin of history of what could happen. The Fed's balance sheet is shrinking again, guys. Now, I'm changing the subject, but the Fed's balance sheet is shrinking again. What can I say? Let's take a look. Where is it? I got it here, the Fed's balance sheet. And here it is. It is shrinking again. This was a Silicon Valley Bank crisis. See, the Fed's balance sheet went way up, and now they're starting to shrink it again. It's going down, down, back, down, down again. What does this mean? It means they're taking money off the table again from the economy. What happened was, it was all these years the Fed increased their balance sheet. We got a zombie economy out there now. It's been being kept alive since 2008. It's zombified. You got a zombie economy, you just can't take the money out of it. The money that you put in to make it an economy, you just can't haul that money out without the economy completely crashing to the ground, because that was the money that built it. It's like when you build a table, you put 4 legs underneath the table. You just can't take those legs out without the table falling down. This is just simple. And a country will not run if its money doesn't work. Oh, well, that's where we're going with this. So we got a crisis there. Not just war crisis is going on, but we got a financial crisis going on here that is more potent than the war crisis, because the war crisis may or may not happen. I mean, North Korea over there, they're poking her with a stick. Come on, here, we're pulling our nuclear weapons right in on your border. And there you got Kim Jong-un pulling his hair out. He's so mad, ready to push the red button. And they're teasing him with pulling nuclear weapons right in next to him. That may or may not happen. Kim Jong-un might just be able to keep his cool. You know? And he might not do anything. But this is going to happen. This is no way in God's green acre we're going to escape this. This is going to happen. And this is called the death of the dollar. It's written in stone now at this point. This is going to happen for sure. I mean, all these other things, all these other threats we're having, maybe there's going to be another pandemic threat. You know, you've heard that one. That might not pan out. War, the world's going to get blown up with a nuclear weapons. That might not happen either. But this is going to happen. There's no way out of this. This is the big one, when the currency... But this one might take a little while, because the dollar's so big in the world, everywhere. Everybody uses dollars. For that to lose that status and stuff might take a little while. So this is a slow-moving disaster. It's a creeping eruption. You know, it's creeping. It's a creeping disaster. It's the worst kind, where it slowly drains you of your wealth until you're in poverty. Everybody gets touched by this eventually, except for a very small minority of people that can escape it by being a bunch of crooks, basically. You know, and enriching themselves at the expense of others. There are a few that's going to escape it, but not many. Most people are going to get hit by this. Like a train, most people are already getting hit by this. You know, I mean, and when you start to lose everything, and it's not your fault, it's the government's fault, they're taking everything away from you, everything that's dear to you, eventually you're going to get to the point where, like my show I did yesterday, you know, I mean, you just say, the hell with it all. Pour yourself a glass of wine or whatever and go kick your feet up and have a barbecue or something on the last $20 you got in your pocket. You know? Go buy some hot dogs or whatever, because that's all you can afford while they eat their filet mignon. And you have to buy the chicken hot dogs. You know, and you have to buy the cheap wine. But you kick your feet back up on your last 20 bucks while they splurge. You know, if you're happy with that, I mean, then you're right in there with these people out there who just, like it said, what did it say about them here? Unenlightened, uninformed, semi-lobotomized, quasi-retarded population that does not question. They do not do any research, they do not analyze, but simply digest and follow instructions. Oh yeah, perfect. You know, you're right in there with them. If you just are willing to lose everything you've worked for in your entire life to inflation, you know, and just sit back and have your hot dogs and have your chicken hot dogs because you can't afford beef ones any longer, you know, and your $2 a bottle of wine because you can't afford the good stuff any longer, you know, and maybe this month you can't afford to pay your rent, so next month you don't know where you're going to go or what you're going to do, but enjoy your chicken hot dog while it lasts. You know, that's all I can say. Silver price today is up 5 cents, for $24.90. I'm just sitting back waiting. I'm saying to myself, at what point are the people out there going to say, hey, you know what, they've taken everything from us and we got nothing left. And we got nothing to lose because we got nothing. And it's just like, who was it said, you'll own nothing and be happy? But see, I don't think it works that way. The happy part. I think the you will own nothing part, I think they got that figured out and they're playing that out right now. On the American population, on the population of Canada, and the population of China, and not China, but Japan, and the population of all these countries. Great Britain is especially being hit hard. They get that figured out right now. You will own nothing part. And they're doing it. But the be happy part, well, we'll have to wait and see, because I'm sitting here and I'm questioning what's going to happen with that. I mean, how long is that going to last? How long are they going to be happy when they cannot afford spaghetti any longer? One of the cheapest things that you can cook out there. When they're running out of ramen noodles, you know, those lousy taste, that's all they got to eat. And their kids are squealing for food and stuff, and they're going to be kicked out of their apartment next week. Their van has been repossessed, you know, and then the government's telling them, okay, you got a carbon tax coming now, you got to pay. And they're like, what? Help us. Well, no, nobody's going to help you because you are uninformed, semi-lobotomized, quasi-retarded population. No help for you. No soup for you. So where were we? We were talking about cryptocurrency here. 29,026 today. Do we do gold? We're going to take a look at gold. Gold's been very stubborn to stick to that $2,000 mark. 1982. Yeah, it's a little bit below 2,000 right now, but it's very stubborn not to want to go below that because there's a lot of buyers out there. They're buying up real physical right now. Dow Jones Industrial Average is down $213. I did show you guys Bitcoin at 29,000 and Ethereum at 1888. And the Dow's up. And so we're taking a look at crude oil today at 74.51 today. I'm watching the price of crude rather carefully the last few days because I'm telling you guys, crude oil's an indicator. And I just sense that we're getting right on the edge of this precipice of this, what they call a recession. I think it's going to be much more intense, and that they're going to have to release the printer again to stop it, the momentum of it when it starts, when it really gets going. Bonds and rates today, we're looking at rising yields. U.S. 10-year at 3.51, it's up 8.9 basis points, and the U.S. 30-year is up 7.2 basis points at 3.76. Finishing off with the dollar index today at 101.60 and rising. Yeah, sure. Buy into those dollars, guys. Yeah, they're going to be worth a lot pretty soon. You know, they're going to be worth a lot when they're used for toilet paper. Catch you guys in the next show and have a great day. Bye bye.